Where do you think you've grown, like, as a person? What have you learned about yourself?
That I'm a bucket. That I'm a bucket. That I'm a bucket.
Gives it up here to Green. Jalen Green over Vassell.
He's one of the more complete offensive players you'll find.
Yeah, on average.
Give me that.
Green into the lane. Good move by Green.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, for his first point.
Nope.
Oh, he tried to.
Eventually, probably soon, the world will recognize you for the pitiful disappointment you are. You are not worthy of my respect. You are not a god. You are simply bad product.
Time to re-up YouTube. Your boy Mustard is back with another banger. And you know, I have to say, I hate to say I told you so, but Rockets fans, I told you so. And I'm sorry, man, until these basic core fundamental things are fixed, get ready to learn the Chinese national anthem, nigga. He is about to become Jordan Clarkson 2.0.
Hilarious.
That is literally what he is.
This is a bullshit.
Take his mic, DJ. Take his mic.
Bullshit, by the way.
Look at y'all niggas. Y'all acting like I'm. Tell me what I said.
Nah, Mustard, you're not lying. Mustard, you're not lying. No, you're not lying about him, his struggles. Like
y'all swore to me up and down this guy was the next Kobe Bryant. Then the next best step was the next Zach LaVine, and it looks like he's about to become the next Jordan Clarkson. For those who don't know, if you're not following me on social media, by the way, do that. You're missing out. I have been very critical of Houston Rockets guard Jalen Green because as somebody who lives in Houston, I follow a lot of Rockets fans and I just see a lot of them on Twitter in general. I tend to see stupid takes about this guy, and I was actually pretty high on Jalen Green coming into the league. If you guys remember, I dropped a video about him after his rookie season. I really thought he could be the next big thing in the NBA as a scorer, and obviously I was wrong because with all the flashes that Jalen Green has showed, there is not a lick of consistency, and this year has been the perfect example of it. But before we go any further, you guys know the drill. Drop a like on this video, comment your opinions. I'm sure a lot of you Rockets fans want to comment something. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell for post notifications. When Jalen Green came into the NBA, I, including Rockets fans and plenty of people around the NBA community, had high expectations for JG. Not that he would become an instant superstar or anything, but that he would establish himself as one of the better scorers in the league moving forward at some point. And I didn't expect him to come out the gate to be some 25, 30 point per game scorer. Nobody thought that. But at the bare minimum, all he had to do was really show flashes, and that's what he did. Post All-Star break, he was one of the better scorers at his position. Then you get to year 2 where he was a little bit more consistent. You saw more of that post All-Star break Jalen Green, but you still did see some issues. Defensively, he was not good whatsoever, one of the worst defensive guards in the league. His playmaking had gotten better, but still needed a lot of work. He was very three-point reliant, and his inside the arc game really wasn't good. Not efficient at the rim, really couldn't even get to the rim that often, and he was not a good mid-range scorer. But when you looked at the Rockets team last year, they were really all in disarray. Stephen Silas was not doing that great of a job. Actually, I'll just say it, he was doing a bad job. And considering offense was supposed to be his specialty, he was letting down so many players on the roster. So the Rockets then obviously decided to go out there and make some moves, as we saw this offseason, bringing in guys like Dillon Brooks and Fred VanVleet. Those two signings were really meant for guys like Jalen Green and Sengun. It gave Jalen Green a playmaker to ease him with the ball handling responsibilities, and Fred VanVleet and a three-point shooter to help him with some spacing. And the same thing goes for Dillon Brooks, at least on the defensive end, because even though he's shooting well this year from 3, let's be serious, last year he was one of the worst offensive players in the league, so that wasn't a guarantee. Also, picking up Amen Thompson in the draft was a big sign that they were trying to ease in the ball handling responsibilities on JG, which I thought was good. Make him more comfortable as a scorer, put him in better spots, limit his playmaking as much as you possibly can. Not necessarily to hurt his development per se, but let's be honest, it's just not a strong strength of his outside of the pick and roll. Because in the PNR, I think JG can be solid, and he's even shown those flashes this year, but outside of that, his playmaking is still a big issue for him, which leads into what he's doing this season. And I'm sorry if you don't see Jordan Clarkson on the court for the Houston Rockets, I don't know what you're seeing, as this season he's averaging 19, 3, and 4 on 54% true shooting. On top of that, the playmaking is pretty limited to just like 1 or 2 reads in the pick and roll, a couple of skip passes there, streaky 3-point shooting, and inefficient scoring at the rim in the half court, which in my opinion is the biggest issue with Jalen Green. He is not strong to really consistently drive to the rim. When he gets there, he struggles to finish through contact. Hell, even at times, the man is smoking open layups. It's that bad. And I think that that's something that he should have been improving on this season, getting in better shape to improve his strength on drives. He gets knocked off balance consistently on his drives. They cut off his lanes all the time, which leads into him obviously second guessing himself and struggling with his aggression. And a lot of that, yes, is a mental thing, but when you don't have the physicals to back it up, it's definitely going to be a lot harder than it should be. Because one of Jalen's actual strengths is his ability to get to the free throw line. He averages around 5 to 6 free throw attempts a game this season. And that was also on display last year. So if you're JG, build on that strength. That's the only real consistent part of his game. But instead, he falls in love with the 3-point shot. He tries to get to the rim and really just can't. And though defensively, he's been a slight positive for them this year, I think that more so has to do with the Ime Udoka effect than anything. The fact of the matter is, JG is not living up to the expectations that are even lowered on my end. I didn't expect JG to be some all-star this year like a lot of other Rockets fans said he would, but I did expect some level of consistency as a scorer, and he simply is not doing that. As out of the 17 games that Jalen Green has played this year, 11 of them consist of him shooting 40% from the field or lower. The man is a shot chucker who isn't really contributing too much on the defensive side of the ball or as a playmaker. And what do we call those kind of guys? The Jordan Clarksons of the world. And that's not to say he's a bad player. Jordan Clarkson is actually a really solid player for the Utah Jazz. The fact of the matter is, Jalen Green is a shot chucker. There is no denying it at this point, and he's not an efficient one. Looking back at that draft in 2021, there are definitely a couple players I would have taken over Jalen Green in a redraft. Now, of course, a lot of that is hindsight with guys like Scotty Barnes or Franz Wagner, but in the case of someone like Evan Mobley, even at the time, I think it's safe to say that he was the better pick for the Houston Rockets. Mobley coming into the league was one of the best defensive prospects that the league has seen since like what, Anthony Davis? Someone that could be an elite defensive anchor for the next 10 to 15 years is going to give you better impact than somebody like a Jalen Green, who in my opinion, Jalen Green at his best is going to be what, a 20-point per game scorer on a mediocre team in the league? And at worst, we're talking about a guy that's going to be a 6th man of the year candidate. I just don't get why Rockets fans, with all the new information that they have at their disposal, can't understand and admit that Jalen Green being picked number 2 overall was now a mistake. Admitting that doesn't mean that Jalen Green is some bad player. It just means that there are other guys that would have given them a better chance for their rebuild to succeed a lot better. Could you imagine taking Evan Mobley and having Alfred Sengun as well with him in the front court? That would have been perfect in my opinion. And then the next season, when they actually needed to take a guard, they could have got themselves Jaden Ivey. But hey, if I speak on that Jabari stuff, Rockets fans, they're not gonna like it very much. In conclusion, I am not going to say that Jalen Green is a bust, but I definitely do think it's very telling that there are guys that were picked after him in the draft that very clearly are better players than him. And denying that is such a weird lie because the facts are right there. We've seen it over the last 3 years. Jalen Green has really shown marginal improvement in my opinion, while all 3 of those guys can contribute not only on their respective teams in a more impactful way, but really on any team in the league. You're not taking Jalen Green over those 3 players I just mentioned. Hell, I'll even go this far. As it stands right now, on any team trying to actually win a championship, I would take Trey Murphy over Jalen Green. Hell, as a matter of fact, with the way these dudes are playing this season, give me Jalen Johnson and maybe even Herb Jones over Jalen Green. But let me slow down my roll, man. Let me wrap this thing up. You guys already know the drill. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Rockets fans, really think to yourselves, is Jalen Green really the guy you think he is? Because I personally don't think so.